All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had an amazing day.
Hi, Rabbi.
How are you? I hope you had an amazing day and an amazing weekend. It's our first Monday of 2021, and I'm hoping that if your day was as great as mine, that this becomes the beginning of a new reality for all of us, one step closer to getting back to the way the world was, a better version of whatever was before, and hopefully a better version of ourselves. All right, so we are in the middle of Mishlei. We are in the 4th chapter, and we are starting at verse 11. This is the book of Proverbs. And King Solomon begins and he says as follows. He says, "B'derech chokhmah horiticha." In the way of wisdom I instruct you. I led you in paths of uprightness. And, Shlomo HaMelech, he sees himself as the king. But now, you have to remember, there's a difference between a Jewish king and another kind of king. Most kings, they get their power from the people. The people will say, okay, we want to appoint a king over ourselves, and we're going to empower him and give him the authority to do whatever he wants. It doesn't work like that in Judaism. Even though it's true that we can appoint a king in Judaism, we can say we want this guy to be the king, but this king can't make any new rules. He can't make any new laws. As a matter of fact, the Jewish king's job was to enforce the rules, the laws of the Bible, of the Torah, right? So he has no room to do anything on his own. He's just a mere puppet. And King Solomon isn't just the king that is the wisest king in the world. He sees himself as the teacher, the educator of the people. This is what a king's job was meant to be. Does anyone know why a king wears a crown? A king wears a crown to remind him that he's meant to lead his kingdom with his mind and not his heart. This is why I wear a kippah. Same word for, if those of you that are familiar with Yiddish, the word that some people call a kippah a yarmulke, right? But people don't know is that the word yarmulke comes from the words Yoreh Malka. Yoreh Malka means fear of heaven. The purpose of the beanie, the skull cap, however you refer to it, the kippah, is there to remind you that there is someone bigger than me, and to remind me that I am meant to live and guide my life with my mind and not my heart. Okay, that's the theme of everything we always speak about, that dichotomy between the intellect and the body, the dichotomy between the higher aspects of our wants, our desires, versus the lower parts of our wants and desires. And he continues. And he says as follows, when you walk, your step will not be straightened. And if you run, you'll not stumble. That's if you walk in the ways of uprightness, you will be fine, right? The one who, if you're someone who is doing what you're meant to be doing, don't worry about it. You're not going to trip. Nothing's going to get in your way. It's when we make that mistake and we cross over, if you will, to the dark side, you are opening yourself up to all kinds of things. And he says follows. He says, "Hichazek b'musar al terep notzreya ki hi chayecha." Take fast hold of discipline. Don't let it loose. Guard it because it is your life. What is this discipline that he's speaking about? Right? This discipline is the discipline of musar. Right? We spoke about this. This is the discipline of elevating your character traits into something bigger and something more. Don't settle for what you are, right? We've said this before as well. There's two notions about our own identity. One is, see it, you like it, take it or leave it, right? This is who I am. Another idea is recognizing, yes, this is who I am. These are all my flaws. And I'm far from perfect, and I'm not proud of my flaws, but I want to become something bigger and more. That is healthy. Saying I am where I am, take it or leave it, is very unhealthy. If you're in a relationship with someone who just says take it or leave it, we got to talk about how to help that person get out of their little ideas of what a relationship is meant to be like, and so on and so forth. I meet with a lot of young couples, and I actually had a couple come down to the synagogue today, and I said to this couple, what challenges in this relationship are you living with? Like, what are the challenges of this relationship? And I ask that question because if I ask you, what are the hardest parts of being in the relationship that you're in? If you say nothing, there are no challenges, that is a huge, mega red flag, right? If you're in a relationship that has challenges and you know what those challenges are and you could articulate them, but in spite of those challenges, you're still in this relationship, that's a very good thing, okay? I want you to be in a relationship where there are issues because I want you to work through your issues because there's no reality where we don't have any issues. Everyone's got them. Okay, all of us do. Everyone has them a little differently, but we all have our problems, and that's okay. It's okay to have problems. What's not okay is to say, well, these are my problems, too bad. Love it or leave it. That's not okay. It's okay to say, you know what? And this is exactly what Shlomo HaMelech, this is what King Solomon is saying over here to us. He's saying that take fast hold of discipline. Don't let it lose guard it. It is your life. And what the discipline we're talking about is character development. I am not happy with who I am. I am proud of who I am. And I say I'm not happy, it doesn't mean I'm walking around being depressed either. You shouldn't be walking around saying, it's just me. No, Bishvili Nivra Olam. The world was created for you and for me. The whole universe is there for you. Now, what are you going to do with it? That lack of comfort of who we are is meant to inspire us to grow, not make us depressed. That's the opposite of what Musar is meant to accomplish. Musar is not meant to help you focus on all the things that you're doing wrong. It's there to help you realize that you could be so much more, right? And this is what he's saying. He's saying, hold on to this discipline. This discipline is your life. And he goes on. He says, I love these next few verses. You'll see. You'll see why. He says, Ba'orach Rasha'im al tavo. He says, you shall not come in the way of the wicked. Va'al ta'asher b'derech ra'im. And do not walk in the way of the evil, right? Don't come in the way of the wicked, right? Don't do anything do everything in your power to stay away from people that are doing bad. Okay? You don't want to be around those people. Okay? Do everything you can to avoid all evildoers, all people that are involved with sin, all people that are lost in their own world. Avoid it. Don't pass through it. Turn from it and pass. Right? That means if you see it, don't even imagine yourself being covered in glue. Don't go near that stuff. You want to walk away from any evildoer you can. Keep your way as far as possible as you can. Why? Right? The wicked over here, the word Rasha'im refers to those who sin against God. Whereas Roim, the evildoers, those are people that sin against their fellow man. There's a difference. Now, it's one thing to go ahead and say, well, okay, I'm not ready for kosher, I'm not ready for Shabbat, I'm not ready for Jewish law. Okay, but how do you explain someone who is immoral, who doesn't take your wants and needs into account of, into the equation when they're making a decision of how they're going to react to somebody, right? We talk about morality, we talk about mitzvot, we talk about commandments, we talk about these ideas that are meant to help us elevate ourselves into something more, right? It's one thing to not have a relationship with God. It's a whole other thing to say, I just care about myself. I don't care about anybody else. Who's more evil? The person that is completely narcissistic, who lacks ben adam lachavero, the relation between me and my fellow man, that person is more dangerous. Yes, someone who is a non-believer can be a great person, but ultimately that person's morality is going to be somewhat subjective, either based on their society, which is ever changing, or their own whims. So he's saying like this. Number one, you're surrounded by people that are doing bad things. You do everything you can as quickly as possible to get away from them because they will impact you. We spoke about this last week a little bit, right? Ki lo yisnu im lo yera'u v'nigzala shnatam im lo yachshilu, because if they will not sleep if they don't commit evil, and their sleep will be robbed away from them if they don't cause people to stumble. There are some sick people out there that they obsess about not only being involved in doing bad, they want to leech onto other people and get them to do bad. We all know people like this. They're exhausting, right? There's nothing positive. It's always negative. There's always something wrong. You don't want to be around. Be nice to those people. I'm not saying be mean to those people, but you keep your distance from people that drain you, people that are negative, people that are always lost in their own misery. You just don't want to deal with that. Surround yourself by people that are growing. Surround yourself by people that are thinking deeply about how they become greater human beings. How could I become a better person? How could I work on being less angry? How could I be giving? How could I become more giving? How could I be more patient and understanding? How could I be someone who is more in tune with the needs of others? Those are the kinds of people you want to surround yourself with. Those are not the people that are going to cause you to stumble. But the people that are lost in their own wickedness, they can't help themselves by drawing other people into their own darkness. Ki lachmu lechem resha b'yain chamusim yishtu. For they eat the bread of wickedness, and they drink the wine of violence. So, those are very. What does that mean? That their bread is the bread of wickedness, right? And their wine is the wine of violence. Wickedness and violence are so ingrained in the wicked that it has become their sole nourishment and pleasure. Now, I don't know many people that are that wicked like that. I think it's today people have evolved and become more nuanced. But yeah, there are still people that are lost in their own sadness, their own unhealthy, negative way of looking at the world. And they cannot live without it. When sinfulness becomes a way of life, evildoers become addicted to it. It's interesting, there's actually a famous conversation amongst the early rabbis between the 10th and the 15th century called the Rishonim. And Maimonides is definitely one of them, who says, well, at what point are you punished for your sin? Right? Let's say, I go out to the store and I buy a cheeseburger and I succumb like, oh, they're so good. They're so cheap also, right? For $3, I get my BLT. And I'm sitting there and I succumb to my desire for this old familiar burger and I eat it. Okay? So at that moment, I'm punished for eating something I shouldn't be eating. Reuven, you should know better than that. Kasher is kosher. You know what you're supposed to do. How could you eat that? You can't mix meat and milk. What's wrong with you? So whatever it is, I feel bad. And then the next day I pass by again and oh my gosh, it's on sale again. And I just go another time. And then on Wednesday is my third day. I still haven't learned my lesson from day 1 and 2. And then I'm having my third one. When I eat my fourth burger, I'm not punished for it anymore. Why? Because it's no longer a sin for me. Not that it was wrong. It's still wrong on day 4, right? The fourth burger. But the first 3 mistakes that you make, that's what you pay for. It doesn't matter if you do them before 5 and 6, right? Those first 3 are the most dangerous ones. Those are the ones you're paying for the most. After that, it becomes habit. You're no longer even thinking anymore. You're just someone who's lost and possessed in the evil that you're mired in the wickedness that you're kind of lost yourself in. The first, second, and third, that's where you get into trouble. That's the big ones. Don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of the evil inclination, right? It's just 1 time, it's just 2 times, 3 times. By the 4th time, you don't even feel bad about it anymore. After the first one, you wake up, I feel bad. Why did I do it? And the second time, but then once that moral, that consciousness, once that's no longer there, that's when you're lost. That's when you're lost. You need to feel. Okay, the first, second, and third times, you're punished for those. And those sins are so mega, so massive, they include everything else afterwards. It doesn't really matter. Now, he says like this, V'orech tzadikim k'or noga, ha'olech v'or ad nachon hayom. But the way of the righteous is like the light of dawn. It shines ever brighter until the day is perfect. It gets brighter and brighter and brighter. It illuminates from the first ray of dawn until midday, which is the brightest time of the day. It just gets brighter and brighter and brighter. The way of the righteous is to be in a place where you're glowing. And by the way, think about it for yourselves. When we're doing good things, we feel awesome. You feel amazing. You feel like you're glowing. You could feel a bounce in your step. And Shlomo, King Solomon is telling us, guys, involve yourself in righteousness. Not only does it put a bounce in your step, and not only do you feel the light and radiate it with the positivity of your newfound positive righteousness, but you actually bring more light into the world. We believe this as Jews. We say that everything in the physical world is an expression of the spiritual realm. And when you and I are involved in doing something that is good, we change our aura. we bring more positive light into the world. And when we do bad, God forbid, we bring more darkness into the world. Right? So he says, guys, stay away from bad people. Stay away from the evil. Stay away from the people that are lost in their wickedness. Be involved in righteousness and turn the darkness into the world into light. You can be the source of this ever-expansive, glowing light that comes into the world of so much darkness. Derech Rasha'im ka'afela v'lo yadu b'mei yachshilu. The way of the wicked is like pitch darkness. They don't know what they stumble on. And this is such a powerful idea. What do you mean they don't know what they stumble on? When we're all involved in doing our own little unique bads in life, when we do our bad, we have no idea how far-reaching that bad act is until we fall flat on our face. We start something and like, okay, it's a little bit over there, it's a little bit over there, and then it just gets a snowball effect and it gets bad. It gets really bad. We can't control ourselves. We're lost in it. He says they don't know what they stumble in. They don't realize what they're doing. They don't realize, and then suddenly an obstacle comes to them, and they're not even aware that they're falling. They don't even know they're falling because they're so lost in what they're doing. But if you're living a life of light, if you're living in a life where you are improving your character, if you're living in a life where you are growing, where you recognize your flaws, you accept them, you make peace with them, but you're not making peace with them to just stay where you are. You're acknowledging them so you could grow to become a greater human being. You do that, you will not fall into any darkness. There are no pits. There's no way for you to go ahead and lose yourself in a world of darkness. So he says, B'ni, my son, he's saying this in the most passionate way possible. L'divrei hikshiva. Listen to my words. Amrai het aznecha. Lean your ears to what I'm saying. Pay attention. He's shaking us. He's saying, guys, this is so serious. This is so important. We are living lives. Our choices matter. Our behavior matters. How we think and perceive ourselves, it matters. It's real. He says, Al yalezu ma'anecha shemrech b'toch l'dvarecha. Let them not depart from your eyes. Guard them within your heart. Ki chayim hem. L'motzehem. L'kol basro merapeh. These ideas are life for those who find them. And they heal all flesh. All wounds are healed. Yeah, we're made of flesh and blood. We make mistakes, we scar, but we can heal. How do we get ourselves into this path of greatness? How do we get ourselves plugged into this idea of growth? When we recognize that there is a system for our personal development, right? You constantly keep your thoughts focused on your growth. If you are not thinking daily about how you're becoming a greater person, you are 3 days behind your growth schedule. And it gets worse exponentially. In Judaism, there's a reason why we do things repetitively over and over again. Reason number one is because we forget. Reason number two is because the longest distance in the world, the longest distance in the universe is between here and here. Between my head and my heart. It takes forever to get things from here to move into here. I could know something, but how do I actually feel it? Right? So he's saying, listen, I don't know how to tell you this. This is super important, but these ideas are life-saving ideas. Okay? And if you are not enveloped in it, like light envelops you, you are losing out in a unique opportunity of moving forward in life. And if you, again, remember in life, in Judaism, if you're not moving forward, you are unfortunately moving backwards. There is no standing still. And I'll prove it to you. Even when you're standing still, my friends, the world is moving forward. It's always moving forward. It's the ever march of time. It never looks back. It's always looking forward. And so do we. And therefore we do things. Men do it 3 times a day. I pray. Right? And the purpose of those prayers are not just because God, I promise you, does not need to hear the words, does not need to hear me say, you're so great. You're so blessed. You're the King of Kings. You're the mighty. You're the greatest. He doesn't need that. God's perfect. He is not lacking anything. I need to say it because I need it. I need to repeat those ideas because I need to hear that there is a being up there in the universe that has a consciousness who created a world where he wanted humanity to grow. I need to remind myself, because I have such short-term memory that I forget things over and over again. I need to be reminded. And therefore, when we are involved in our day-to-day lives, we make a bracha. We make a blessing. I make it on the water. I make it on... By the way, these are my favorite pickles. Okay, I know. It's the only time I'm allowed to feel wicked. They're called wickles. They're wicked pickles. Okay, I love them. It's this and Devil's food, food cake. Those are my favorite things. It's when I get to be naughty. So this is as bad as you could get. That's it. You want to get wicked? This is as wicked. I let you eat these. These are okay. They're kosher. Okay. So, but you make a blessing on it, and you want to elevate yourself into something more, right? You want to do something to kind of like be more. Use the moments in our lives to elevate and to create something much bigger, right? Don't allow yourselves to kind of like stay stagnant, stay static. Ki chayim hem. This is your life. We're not talking about life as living. This is the life of meaning. This is a life of depth. This is a life of happiness. This is the life of, that feeling when you just did something amazing and like, oh wow, I'm so happy I made that choice. I feel great about it. That is the world I want you to live in 24/7. That's the world that God created for you. He created a world where every moment of your day can be transformed into a meaningful act and watching you grow as a result of it. Mikol mishmar notzer libecha ki mimenu totzaot chaim. For every thing that is prohibited, safeguard it from your heart, for the issues of life come out of it. Whatever the Torah says, know the laws. Guard your heart. Make sure you don't transgress. Regardless whether it's a minor or major, do your part to find a place that you are growing. Because the issues that come out of it, for even the minor ones, the small things that we do, they eventually snowball and they become mega things. The first stumbling block turns into a second and a third until you just you fall flat on the floor and you don't even know that you're on the floor. You don't even know that you're falling anymore. He says as follows. He says, this is very important. Haser mimecha ikushut peh. Take crooked speech away from yourself. Uluzulat safatim harchek mimecha. And put devious lips far away from you. Why? Right? Don't do anything which people will slander you and make their mouths crooked about you. Don't do things where people don't talk about you in a negative way. Okay? Do things that are going to be positive. Crooked speech, right, is an expression as twisted, it's crooked, it's broken, it's bent. Don't do that. Don't have devious lips, right? Don't allow people to open up their mouths wide against you and talking about you. But I would say something even deeper than that. How are you thinking and talking about yourself? How do you speak about yourself? How do you think about yourself when the lips aren't even moving? They say that the lips is the only opening, the mouth is the only opening that has two gates, right? You have your teeth and you have your lips, right? It's there to keep them shut. Your eyes, you could take your earlobes, you could cover it. Your ears, you could cover your earlobes. Your eyes, you could cover your eyes with your eyelid. But your mouth has two gates because you got to be double careful to protect what's coming out of your mouth. And therefore, you got to be double careful because what we speak, that defines reality for us. It helps us create a vision in our mind's eye of how we perceive reality. And therefore, be very careful what you say, but more importantly, be very careful about how you think about yourself. Okay? Do what you can to elevate the way you speak about yourself. Elevate the people around you. Let your eyes look forward and let your eyelids look straight ahead of you. Don't get distracted. Okay? Keep focused on what you're here for. Okay? Daily, every morning, I say my moda'ani. Every morning, I say my asher yatzar. I say my blessings. I do my thing. I do these things as a constant reminder. I teach these classes. I want you to know, I hope that you're enjoying it, but we'll go into a little bit of a confession moment here. I do this for myself much more than I do it for you. I need to hear these ideas. And while I love giving them over to you, and I want you to know, and I hope that you benefited from it as much as I do, but I need to hear this over and over again. I want to go through these. I pick these texts because I need to hear it over and over again. I need to be growing. I need to be the one who's asking myself, well, Reuven, what are you doing to become better? How are you growing? How are you pushing yourself? So as much as I'm sharing it for you, I promise you, I'm thinking of it for me every single moment. It's all about me also. I need to grow. What kind of a teacher am I if I'm not practicing what I preach? And I take these things very seriously. Pales ma'agel raglecha kol derchecha yikanu. Weigh the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established. Al ten yaminu small chasel raglecha mareh. Turn right, don't turn neither right nor left. Keep your feet from evil. Okay, weigh your way. Okay, think about what is the loss of a command against its reward, the reward of a sin against its loss. Then your ways are going to be established. But more importantly, what he's saying here is be balanced, be normal. Okay, don't turn right or left means go straight. Keep your eyes straight, look forward. Let your eyelids look straight. Straight in Judaism represents the middle road. We see this, by the way, from a Mishnah Perkei Avot. The Mishnah there, the Rebbe says, "Ezehi derech yashara sheyavor et adam." What is the straight path that a man should take? And he says, okay, well, kol shehi tiferet la'aseha, everything that is tiferet to those people that perceive you doing what you're doing, the tiferet la'adam. So I should be doing things that are perceived to be good, and I should feel good about the things that I'm doing. So he says, kol shehi tiferet la'aseha. What's the straight path? Everything that is tiferet. Everything that is, the word tiferet means balanced. It means harmonious. You want to know what the straight path in life is? Live a life of harmony. How do you live a life of harmony? Harmony doesn't mean that I ignore the negative traits that I have. It doesn't mean that I ignore the positive traits that I have either. It doesn't mean that I feel boastful about those traits. It means finding a balance between those things. Taking the totality of everything that I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and merging it into this one middle road and recognizing that they're all part of my strengths. And if I could take the things that we'll call bad or evil and I refine them, they become my greatest weapon for growth. They become the greatest catapult for me to achieve spiritual greatness. And this is what he's saying over here. Number one is stay away from those people that are evil. More importantly, clarify your own vision of who you want to be. Recognize that when you are involved in good, you bring light into the world. You change the world as a result of it. Be clear about what you should or should not do. What are the laws? And people often call me, Rabbi, well, what's the halacha? What's the law? And I'm happy to tell people what the law is, but I would much rather people ask me how to understand the law than what the law is. Why? The function of the rabbi isn't to tell you what to do. The function of the rabbi is to clarify what you already know, right? The goal is for each of you to become independent, not dependent. I'm happy to teach, but if my teachings don't allow you to walk off on your own and think of these ideas where you have ownership, where they become your ideas, then I failed you. The idea is for you to become independent. I want you to become independent thinkers. I want you to have an independence. I want you to have an ownership, feel a deep connection to your own Judaism, feel a deep connection and familiarity to the laws, the rules. And in that space of you owning it, we become what the verse says in Leviticus. We're meant to be a mamlechet kohanim, a nation of priests, right? Everyone is meant to be priestly, not just the priest. We're supposed to be a mamlechet kohanim. How do we become a nation of priests? By every single one of us recognizing that we are priestly and that all we need to do is put effort into understanding and growing ourselves. How do we do this? It's very simple. We have a book called the Torah. It's not just a book of legends. It's a book of moral growth, a spiritual greatness. It's a book that's there not just to tell you stories that are fascinating. It's there to teach you deep life lessons about how we become the best version of ourselves. And I know that if Abraham and Sarah suffered with, from whatever tragedies they had to go through in life. But they never stopped believing in what they did. They never gave up. They never turned back. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing. King Solomon, the amazing, brilliant man. He lived a life, was very complicated, made a lot of mistakes, but yet we still talk about him because he was someone who, even though he made his mistakes, he worked on overcoming the mistakes that he made. No one's perfect. We're all flawed. And who's to judge how big or small the mistake is? What matters most is where that person is now. How are they growing today? How are we becoming bigger tomorrow? Wishing you an amazing night. God willing, next week we start the 5th chapter. Things get a little bit more spicy as we move along. Wishing you a week of clarity, of happiness, and most importantly, recognizing that you are a unique ball of nuclear spiritual energy, and we're waiting for your beauty to be brought out into the world so we can illuminate and dispel the darkness. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, Rabbi.
My pleasure. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.